Hari Om. Hari Om. Hello, my friends. Here we are again. It just happened that I have talked to different people who are very, very worried about what's going on in the world. Not worried about the virus, but worried about the other thing. What is going on politically. In all its different details and shades. And of course, if one has a closer look, one could get worried. But once again, I assure you, this is a phase we are going through. A phase where intense negativity is manifesting and trying to hold on, trying to take total control. And for sometimes it seems with success, and it may get even a little worse. But the light, the beauty is rising, is getting stronger with every day. I can feel that. And it continues, and it will continue, and eventually all this structure that is trying to establish itself now and take total control will be crumbling. It cannot remain, it cannot keep on existing. It may do so for some time, but please, my friends, don't fill your minds, don't fill your hearts with worry. Just connect to yourself, connect to the light. In that way, you are strengthening that ever getting stronger of the light. And your life will be so much easier. If we fill our mind with worries, then we just contribute to the difficulties of what is going on. Somehow we just have to sit it out, stick it out. You are all pure light. You are all divine beings. Hold on to that. And it's getting stronger. It's manifesting stronger and stronger. And eventually, all this turns into something very constructive and positive. So, my friends, don't you worry. We just have to somehow get through what is happening right now. Since it approached me repeatedly, I thought I'm saying again a few words about this. But I'll drop it now. Let's open up the dialogue. Is there anyone who is ready to come in? Please come.
Hi, it's Udi, and I want to
Hello, Udi.
continue. Hi, I want just, it was bothering me all this week, and your words are just fall in place. we try to look on the present and the presence, but our tendency is to raise questions or thought about the future.
Yes,
And whenever we are thinking about the future, it's probably a speculation.
yes,
What it's going to be and what is going to come. The speculation from time to time is more accurate, and from time to time we are totally wrong.
yes,
But I would like to hear you saying something about this part of life, the future.
yes. And I'm not at all a future teller in the sense that I can tell you it's turning like this, it's turning like this, that in detail. All I feel is that there is a very benevolent, very powerful energy at work. It's not visibly so manifest right now, but it's getting stronger and stronger, and it has to manifest. It has to turn things into new directions. But frankly, if you ask me how in detail this is going to look, I don't know. I just give my trust in that divine essence that is manifesting stronger and stronger, and out of the chaos, out of the negativity, out of this destructive energy that is manifesting now, something very positive eventually will grow out of that. That much I'm sure. About details, I'm sorry, I cannot tell you more. I simply don't know also.
I understand that, but there is any meaning about thinking about the future or running your mind in the very, very common question, what will be, what tomorrow will bring, whatever, because it's just creating something like a chaos in the mind.
Right. No, you're right. The best you can possibly do, be really in the present. But most of the people can't help themselves to think about the future. And right now, so many people worry very much when they think about the future. And in order to help them to reduce their worries, I have been talking like that. But actually, there is only now. Now we are touching reality. All else is speculation. All else is projection. And incidentally, the best you possibly can do for the future is to live fully in the now.
The feeling that I had is that this time bring the words me to the front line.
Yeah.
And we forget the I and the capital I that all of us share far way behind. How we can remember ourselves, don't to leave it behind.
How you are doing it is your own individual way. Just find a way to remind you not to get stuck on that me level, but even if the attention is on the me level and you hold on to the I feeling of that me, then immediately you start to go beyond the me, because that feeling on the me level, on the ego level, is only a reflection of what you really are. And even if we start on that level, you hold on to that I, not then immediately start to the story. I'm like this, I'm like that, and I want this, I want that, but just I am. Then that way you start to go step out of that me experience, and you start to feel that sense of presence that you are. How you come to that is individual. Whatever means you find that makes it the most easy to remind yourself, that is the good means, and it's different from one person to another.
It's helpful.
Good. Happy.
Thank you. Thank you.
You are welcome. Hari Om, Hari Om.
Hari Om, Hari Om.
Is anybody else ready to come in? Please come.
Hi, Werner.
Hello, Helen.
Hello. I just want to ask you about resistance to what is, and how difficult it is to surrender.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's like, I always believed that surrender was one holy moment where all the ego weapons are down, and from then on flowing with the current of existence.
Yeah.
And I, at the moment, I'm finding inside a huge resistance to what is my situation.
Yeah.
But I realize that when I actually surrender it, I know it's the right path and I know it's good, but it feels like the ego comes in even stronger, and then my head is, I wake up in the morning and my head is pounding with this negativity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wondered if you could talk about difficulties of surrender and
To surrender, right?
yeah.
But you have to make sure that you don't somehow in your head equal surrender to liking what is happening. It doesn't mean that you have to necessarily like what you experience, what you see. You don't necessarily think somehow try to do some mental gymnastic and say, no, it's very good, it's wonderful, it's beautiful. Maybe it's not so good, and maybe it's not so wonderful, and maybe it's not so beautiful. No, the surrender is just accepting, okay, this is on the program right now. It's not really affecting what I am. It's not exactly pleasant, but if I'm not resisting, then I make it much easier for me to deal with it. And if I'm on top of that, of what is happening, what is already unpleasant, nourish that feeling, it shouldn't be like this. No, it shouldn't be like this. Then it's hardly possible to deal with the present situation. It becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. So surrender doesn't mean we have to do some mental acrobatic and try to put the pink color over everything and think, oh, it's so nice and beautiful. It may not be nice and beautiful, but then the right thing to do is, okay, but that's the situation. And if I'm not resisting, it's after all not so terrible. I can deal with it. But if I have to fight through a thick layer of resistance of my mind, then it becomes very, very, very difficult.
Yes, it feels like a bit of a yo-yo, because the surrender in moments feels real, because it is actually surrendering to a really difficult situation, and which gets worse. But in those moments of surrender, there's a sense of connectivity and the kind of much bigger, I don't know, it's like not even Helen. But then what happens is I wake up the next morning and like it's pounding in my head.
Yeah.
It's like almost like when there is a moment of true surrender, it's almost like the mind comes back, you know, with new weapons, you know, with a new strength.
Right. And,
Yeah.
and so it goes. That's the path. Then sometimes it works and it's like it's falling off, but it may fall off momentarily, but the old vasana is still there, the old habit that has its power, that as soon as if we give it a little chance, whoom, it's back.
Yeah.
Right. And there is no other way but to recognize it again. Oh, got me again. So now there I'm doing the job again, to detach from it, to distance from it, and then it may suddenly happen again that you are effortlessly feel free of it, and it comes back. And part of the surrender, part of the acceptance is, okay, that's how it goes. That even if in between it goes, then after that, when it comes back again, not, oh, damn it, why again, why? But all right, job is not finished.
Yes, the job is not finished. Yeah,
Right.
thank you. Thank you. It is this, is that I'm actually realizing how big this vasana is of wanting to be special, be in India, you know, be like, you know, although conceptually I know that understand that enlightenment isn't out there to be had within Maya, but there is this vasana sort of like, and it's really showing me how strong that still is, how personal that still is. So yeah, just it's not finished yet.
Right. That's also part of the acceptance, not to give up, not to give in and think it's anyhow, it's hopeless, I can't do anything, I'll never get anywhere. Not defeatist like this, but okay, it's still there. So job continues, and we go about it again, to recognize it, to observe it, to detach from it, and then it drops off again. And then you think, now it's gone. It may be gone for a moment, but then boom, it's back. There's no other way, but then the sincerity is then to still continue and do it again.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But it's worth the trouble. Not one single attempt in the right direction is lost. Even if we feel, I feel I'm getting somewhere and then it's crushing down again, and feel I'm never getting anywhere. It's always the same, turning around on the same spot. It's not true. That's just the mind, a weakness of the mind that creates this feeling, that creates this idea. Every step that you do, that step you did, and it's behind you. And subtly, even if on the surface in our experience, it may seem again, it's all lost. It's again like I was before, before I started out. It's not true. It's momentarily we may feel like this, but subtly something keeps on changing, keeps on building up. And if we don't give up, then what looks so difficult at a certain moment starts to become simple and easy.
Yes. Thank you. It's like, it's also the belief in what the mind is saying. It's a real challenge to actually see it for what it is, the untruth of it.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Courage, my friend. Have faith. Have faith in yourself. You can do it.
Yes, and a sense of humor helps a lot.
Sense of humor helps a lot, right? Not to take oneself as a person and one's story and the whole damn world so serious.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you, Werner.
You're welcome. Hari Om. Hari Om. This is the thing. Our experience looks so real. But actually, what we are experiencing usually from day to day is just an image that is formed in our consciousness, constructed from the information that we get through the five senses, that we create that holographic image of a reality, and then we don't question it, the solidity of it. And if we never stop and have a good, clear look at it, then the tendency is that we take it so serious, and the role that we are playing in that magic show, take it so serious. And everything that is happening in that magic show, take it so serious. And then it's becoming very, very heavy. So Helen was perfectly right. A good dose of humor makes it a lot easier. But we can also laugh about ourselves. Laugh about when it gets us again. Uh-oh, haha. All right, I know the story. But then if you are not taking it so heavy, if you are not taking it so serious, we have already made the first big step to detach again from it. It's one of the 6 Buddhist perfections, the joyousness. If you learn to be humorous and joyous, everything becomes easier. All right, is there anybody else who would like to say something? Please come.
Good morning, Werner.
Oh, hello, Klaus.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you. How is it up in Norway?
We have now we have first thunderstorm this year.
Yeah.
It's very early.
Yeah, yeah.
So we have almost yesterday was like a tropical 24 hours with I think the temperature was around 17 to 21 degrees the whole day. So here it's tropical when it comes.
You call that tropical? Yeah.
So it's good. It's good. I enjoy the summer here. It's wonderful. Yeah. Yeah. I have felt the last month maybe that the me story is it's it's harder and harder to find it. So it's very good. And I think maybe the thing I'm asking about now is the body and the energy, because I can still feel some kind of heavy energy going, but there's not the big story. There's not a bit chatting about this. It's just recognized that there is a heavy energy. And then I have also met some people who do different kind of energy work, and I'm like, and then this is also just happening, but sometimes also it feels like when I'm exposing myself to things that I have not been doing before, then suddenly things change because there's like a new light coming into it, and there's like a new update of the old situation, the old way of seeing it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can comment anything on like energies and mostly energies and how they function, and if it's possible to get them lighter.
Yeah. Just can I ask? You mentioned energy worker. So you have been having treatment of energy workers.
I have a friend who in here we have very close connections with the shamanic traditions also.
Yeah, yeah.
So one of these days we also did like a drum travel.
Yeah.
So you have strong sound, and then it's almost like the mind stops because of the noise.
Yeah.
So they say also there's a lot of healing in this, and I have also been feeling very, very good lately, and also been with other people, and also just it seems like things are expanding in a way.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just good to be clear that it is your job to deal with your heavy energies and to learn to let go of them, to learn to relax in yourself. And the more you relax in yourself, the more they start to dissipate by themselves. At the same time, if you can get support each other. If you come together in a group, or if you are with an energy worker, there is absolutely nothing wrong taking that support. It's simply good to remain clear that not they should do the job for you. If you know that, then you can go to the energy worker, you can go in the shamanic rituals and take the help of the energy that is being produced, but it's still from moment to moment your job to see what is happening in you and let go of those things that are not necessary to carrying along anymore.
Yeah, there is no duality in it, as long as you are just aware of you have to be aware in those moments.
Yeah.
Like you're pulling the attention back if you feel like you are being sucked into it.
I mean, you can go in the energy of the moment and let happen what happens with that energy. It's still your step to let it happen. And then after that, when you come out, that when you think about it, that you're clear. If something really good has happened, I got the help from the surroundings, from the stimulation of the situation. But after all, every step of the way, it's my job whether I hold on to my stuff or whether I let go. So just that you don't start to make others and situations responsible. That is important. And if you keep that clarity, then you can very well take the help, whatever help that you find.
Yeah, because then what I see also is that help and those things, they are not so serious either.
Right.
So so it's lighter also in that way, that it's okay, it's happening, but yeah, it's also perfectly fine as it is.
Yeah.
It's beautiful and light also experience. So it's I also feel it feels different also, because it's also light in that heaviness is also some wholeness in that heaviness also.
Yes, wholeness is always there. It's not something that we have to create. It's just a matter of becoming aware that it's there.
Yeah.
And what stands in the way is all the old heavy stuff that we hold on to. And the job is to see that we hold on to and somehow learn not to do that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is our job. Nobody is going to do that for us. But we can get help to make it easier, to make the step every time. And that help is perfectly justified. It's perfectly fine.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Certainly, I cannot say anything against being helped. In my story, it was very crucial that I meet my teacher, that I meet my guru, and I got a lot of help just connecting with her, often being in her presence, physical, but even when I was not in her presence, just connecting with her. And she was very skillful in presenting situations, but never did my guru make the steps for me. That was what I always hoped, that she will in the beginning, and she had always made totally clear, no, it's your job, it's your journey. But I can get through that relationship. I got a lot of help to keep going on the journey and to make the steps more effective, more definite. Still, from moment to moment, it lies with everyone by themselves, and no guru, no teacher, no shaman, no surroundings is going to do that for us. But all those helpful surroundings, they can make it easier. They can be encouraging that we do what needs to be done. In the beginning, I always wanted from Amma that she's doing things for me. It was quite a pain for her. Please do something. Please make things happen. And one day, people who have been with me in the Satsangs have certainly heard that story a number of times, but then say it once again. One day she said, look, what you are trying to do is to climb up a big tree, and you are always after me, hoping that I pick you up and put you on the top of the tree. And I'm not going to do that. You have to do the climbing. There's no other way. Simply the difference, if you do that alone, it will be very difficult. If you do that with my help, wherever you get, I'm already there. And sometimes it would be very difficult from one branch to reach again the next. And then I may be standing there and holding my hands that you can step in it. I may be sitting on the next branch and hold your hands to help you to pull you up on the next branch. Still, I can do that, but you have to do the climbing. And like this, it is not simply with the relationship with a guru, but it's with all the helps. They are perfectly valid, but at the same time, it's good to remind ourselves to be clear about it. In spite of all the help that we can get, that's the game of this world. That's the game in this magic show. That's why consciousness projects into it. We have from moment to moment the choice whether we make a step, whether we even attempt to make a step. We can get a lot of support, a lot of inspiration. We can get wonderful experiences that are inspiring. And yet, still, from moment to moment, it's up to each one. Okay, am I ready to make the next step? And the next step usually means to let go of something that I'm carrying around unnecessarily. That is the main so-called growing process. Becoming aware how much baggage that we are carrying along, and learn to drop it. And if we can find circumstances like Klaus just described that feel helpful, that we feel a resonance in our heart, that's great. Then it's perfectly valid to connect with these places, with these people, with one being. You just don't have to lose the awareness, but okay, in spite of all the help, we need not develop that idea they should do the job for us. It's our job. We came for that. Okay. Is there anybody else who would like to come in? Please come.
I would like to ask you, Werner, after you said this story about the climbing,
yes,
that at least for me, the major obstacles from climbing to the next branch is the worry or the uncertainty that this branch can hold me.
Yeah, right.
Not only that I'm heavy, but you know, it's something that it doesn't matter on the size of the branch, but this is a major question that everywhere we are asking ourselves: is the next step is safe for us?
Mm. That is, of course, the worry of the personality, because we carrying all that stuff around with us because it makes us feel secure. our heavy burden that we are carrying, that make us feel secure, that with all that stuff somehow I feel protected. And every time letting go is it's a matter of courage. Doing a step into the unknown, and often fear is preventing us from doing so, thinking, but what happens then? If I'm not more holding on to my mechanism that I feel it's protecting myself, then what is happening if I'm not holding on to that? It's much too dangerous. But I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, nothing can really hurt you, what you are. The more you develop that faith in yourself, in what you really are, the less these fears that come up for the next branch are powerful to prevent you. But it's time and again coming to the point that we somehow have to muster up our courage. Okay, I'm in a way opening into something unknown. And for the mind, it's dangerous. For the mind, it seems dangerous because it's unknown. We feel on top of the situation. If we think we understood it, we control it, we know it, it's clear. And then the unclear is, but there is that sense of presence, which is prior to the personality. And if you come back to that timelessness of the now, become more and more aware of that sense of presence, then the courage comes also because you become more and more aware that all that stuff that we are holding on to is not so important. It doesn't touch that sense of presence. Superficially, I may make my situation relatively secure, but on that level, it's never really secure how much we think it's secure. But the mind thinks gets a certain security, wrong security out of it. But if your sense of security comes more and more of being aware of that sense of presence that is prior to that experience, then you become aware it cannot be touched by anything. And then the fear that is always wanting to prevent us to make the next step, to climb to the next branch, also gradually becomes less.
So you would say that this courage is exactly like a strong belief in our ability to be here now and without any fear.
Right. First, it's mainly a belief, but more that you remind yourself to connect consciously with it, then it's more than a belief. Then it's becoming more and more an experience on which you can build.
Great.
But
so I will continue to climb.
We continue to climb. And of course, you're right, a certain amount of faith is involved. Without a certain amount of faith, we are totally powerless. Even on this practical level, just to go into a train or into an airplane, we have to have a certain amount of faith that we reach our destination. Otherwise, we don't do it. So we cannot take a single step without some faith. But that faith gets stronger and stronger because in the beginning it's mainly belief, and the more it becomes also your experience, because you, even if it's not permanent, again and again, you're capable of diving into that sense of presence that is, no matter what is happening in the world, is completely pure and pristine. It's not touched by anything. The more you experience that, the easier the faith is there for the next step.
Great. Thanks a lot.
You are welcome. Hario. Hario. Is there anybody else who would like to come? Please come. Okay, I'll talk a bit more about faith. Just as I said now to Udi, without a certain faith, we are totally paralyzed on all the levels. Even on that day-to-day material experience, we need beliefs, we need faith all the time, just to dare things. People who lose that, after that they are scared in their room and are not more capable of doing a damn thing. And actually, it's known, it happens, and it's a disease, it's a mental disease. And in a way, we all having that a bit, that mental disease, that we are afraid of making steps. But then, if we believe at least in the possibility that if I'm making a step in this direction, it makes sense. Something good can come out of it. If we have enough of a spirit of enterprise, that at least I can try and see what happens. Then we start to make the step. And if we have enough faith, if we have enough courage to make the first step, then out of that, the courage comes to make the next step. If we meet somebody of whom we believe, because after all, we cannot know for sure, but we can feel in the heart that there is something in that being they may have gone that whole way already. And if there is that confidence in what they are saying, if that helps us to increase the faith, then that makes it easier. But it's still mainly getting stronger, always the courage to make the next step, the faith that the next step is worth the travel, that it can do something good, comes mainly out of our own experience. I make a step and feel, it's good. Something good seems to happen. And out of that comes the courage to go ahead. If somebody tells us, but definitely it makes sense to go the way. It makes sense to climb that tree. It makes sense to take the next step. And we feel they talk from their perspective because it's more than they know, then that may help. But it's still up to us whether we are opening up the heart and let that message come into the heart, that we can have the faith. Nisargadatta, he was very special in that. He was a very simple man, hardly any education. For years, he went to school in his village, so he could just read and write his own mother tongue, Marathi. And otherwise, he was just a practical man, a villager, and then went to Bombay, and there he was a practical man and made his life by rolling beedies and selling beedies. But he was energetic. And then he met his guru. He started to get interested in more than just the material level. And then he met his guru. And first his guru gave him a mantra. He practiced mantra for some time. And as he was a pure soul, as he was very intense, within short time, he started to have all kinds of experiences, seeing gods and goddesses, talking to them. And then his guru said to him, anyhow, you can use the mantra, but you can also just be. Just hold on to that sense of I am. You are not what you think you are. You are not the person you think you are. You are birthless, you are deathless, you are timeless, you are spaceless. You are beyond any understanding. And Nisargadatta, he just took it all in. He felt, this man is telling this for my own benefit. He cannot have any gain by telling me lies. He just had complete faith in his guru. But it kindled in him that eagerness. Okay, I do believe him. I have no doubt. He's telling the truth. But still, I want to verify it by my own experience. And so he started to turn his attention on himself, which led to it that within a relatively short time, he found his experience totally transformed within a few years. He was a very exceptional case, but in his innocence and simplicity, he simply didn't doubt all the time. He just had faith. That, of course, is a grace that one can have such a strong faith. But if somebody like Nisargadatta's guru can inspire faith in us, that at least we give it the benefit of a doubt. They may be right. So let me prove it by my own experience. Let me verify it by my own experience. Then that can be a great help. But finally, it comes always to being having faith in oneself. Faith in the guru, like it was in Nisargadatta's case, has kindled the faith in himself to really unquestioningly go for it. And that is the job. Not everybody is blessed with such an unquestionable faith like Maharaj had in Nisargadatta. But we can have enough trust to make the first step. Give it the benefit of a doubt that it may do something good. And then, with making the first step, comes the courage, comes the force, comes the faith to the next step. We cannot artificially create that faith, but we can either close our heart that it cannot happen, or we can open our heart, and then gradually it starts to happen. And in a few cases, it's just there, intensely, like in Maharaj's case. Okay, is there anybody else who would like to talk? Please come in.
Hello.
Hello. Hello, Anita.
Hi. Hello. Because you were talking about the next step,
Yes.
and so I'm looking for the next step, but I don't know which one it would be.
I mean, it's a matter of talking the next step. It's not that we have to go from point A to point B.
Yes, but I feel somehow stuck also. Also in the spiritual sense of, I'm doing my meditation, but very little. But also, yeah, reminding myself often in the day to connect that I do.
Yes.
But I feel like nothing is really moving.
No lightnings.
No lightnings. No.
Right. I know that feeling. I've been fighting with that feeling for a long time. And there was always Amma there and say, don't talk nonsense. It's not that nothing is moving. Simply you are not aware of it. And I tell you the same thing. You never really are stuck, especially if you continue what you are doing. If you continue having your meditations, if you continue to remind yourself to bring the attention back to the now, to that timelessness of the now, it gradually, gently goes deeper. It may be such a gentle process that you are not aware at all that things are changing, but still it's changing. And then suddenly something may happen and you become aware, right? Something really is different than before. But often we go for longer stretches where there are no big signs that something goes on. And all I can do is to encourage you to continue in spite of that. And I assure you, it's not really true that you are stuck. Even if that feeling comes sometimes, then you deal with that feeling like you deal with other feelings. As we have been talking sometimes about anger or fear, then you just see the feeling. There I am with that feeling, I'm stuck and a bit dejected about it, and then don't fight it, but let it come. Invite it even, and see what that feeling is doing, how it is manifesting in your body, in your subtle body, energetically, and relax it. And then that very feeling that wants to pull you into a gloomy mood, in a gloomy state, can be used to make this the next step.
Yeah, that's right.
Everything can be used. And of course, calling it the next step or climbing up a tree is a metaphor. We are not going anywhere. The next step is coming here.
But because you say climbing up a tree, I was just doing that with the computer because I'm at the friend's place and I took the laptop and climbed up here. Yeah, stairs up a tree, you know.
you are there. I mean, I see blanks in behind you. You are
yeah,
up
that's a house in the tree, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
That was funny because we were just talking about climbing the tree, and so I was walking in the garden and I see this place. I thought, good idea.
I see. So then you climbed up.
Yeah.
Great.
But you're right. Yeah, it's true. I can see the life and the happenings, the relationships and everything. All the time something is triggering something, and that I can use to be here and yeah, not go into anything, but to practice this being non-judgmental, open. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And it may look like one can think, compared to all my investments, compared to all the time I have been investing, going my path, doing my spiritual work, it seems so absolutely little that is coming out. But this is not true. It just looks like that. It feels like that. But when the feelings come, then deal with the feeling directly and don't believe it. It's also a trick of the mind that doesn't want to let go. That the old personality wants to be free of all that stuff that we are carrying along, but at the same time is also afraid. What we talked about it before, Vibhuti is afraid to make the next step. It doesn't know whether the next branch is holding you, and creates all kinds of things to hold us back. And the very feeling that I'm stuck, I'm not getting anywhere, is another trick of the mind to try to keep the old framework existing. So don't believe it. And deal with the feeling directly. Watch what it is doing physically, energetically, and relax.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Enjoy your tree.
Yeah, I do.
It looks beautiful.
It is.
Yeah. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om.
Anita.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is more wind now coming from this side. Am I having the wind sound in my microphone?
Not at all.
Not at all. Okay, so for the time being, I can stay good where I am. Very
yeah,
good.
It's good.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Anybody else who would like to come? Please come.
Hello.
Hello. Ah, hello.
Hello.
Tina.
It's Tina. Yeah.
Tina.
Well, I would like to
Tina.
talk about hi predetermination. what is your view on that? Do you think that everything is predetermined?
Everything is hanging there in space, and a lot of things are they're bound to happen, but they are not written in stone. It can also it can also turn differently. It's there as a probability, and sometimes the probabilities are strong, very strong, and sometimes they are weaker and easier to change, but nothing is written in stone unchangeable.
Okay, because I know some people, they can see the future. It's
Yes.
because of that, you know, clairvoyance, but I also met some people who told me about the future.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Right.
So
And
this is possible.
And the future keeps on changing. So the future visions may be momentarily true. Those people who tell they see the future, they may really see what they say at that moment.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that the future will manifest then like this. It's a probability. And many things may change in between, that probability is not manifesting exactly in this way, but can be quite different.
Okay, so we kind of have a free will. I mean, that we can change things, change our conditioning, that you believe?
Yes, we have the free will every moment, whether we are just letting our attention getting lost on the personal level, or whether we are turning back, coming to the self. Now, do we have a free will of acting this way or that way in this world? We have our own creativity, but then there are a lot of other influences.
Yeah.
And so it's not only our decision how I'm dealing now with this situation that is shaping the situation. And so our free will on that level is limited, but still there is a creative aspect that we can bring into it. Those who tell you, there are the two extremes. Those on one side say that you have total free will, you can do whatever you like all the time, and the others say you have absolutely no free will. There's everything is totally fixed. And neither of them is right. We have that potential of freedom, and the free will we have all the time, whether we attempt to be connected consciously with our real self or not. How much we are successful in every attempt, that is also not our will that is deciding, but whether or not we are attempting to connect, that free will we have every moment in our life. And the more you are resting in the self, the more you are really yourself and not being identified and limited by the me personality, the more you are at that well of creativity, and the more your own creativity, your own freedom can be manifested. So it's like the more you are really rooted in yourself, the longer the line is getting of your free will.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody who is totally identified with the me personality and never stops and never questions whether I am this person, the story may be quite predictable, and it's just unrolling, and they keep on being pushed along by forces they have no idea that they are there. But the more you become conscious, the subtler your consciousness becomes, the subtler your experience becomes. And then you become also aware of energies that are there, that have the tendency to push us in a certain direction, And when you are aware of those energies, it's much easier then to agree with them and let yourself be pushed, or say, no, I'm not going down that alley. That possibility is there. So the future is there as a probability, but it's not written in stone. Also, the future is changing.
Okay.
There's only one place where you are touching reality that is not changing, that is now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even
and then I have one more question.
yeah.
Oh,
No,
sorry.
Please, your next question. Let's not go into philosophy.
It's about the doer.
Yeah.
The doer. If you think there's a doer, you know, if I'm the doer, it's connected to the other one also. But
right,
if you can collaborate with the doer.
Actually, of course, the two questions, they go very much together.
Yeah.
Then if I'm having free will, is there a doer? Or if there is no doer, then who is possibly having free will?
Yeah. Yeah.
You are a divine being, and you're projecting part of yourself into this world. And then this projection develops its own personality. It develops as if it was its own being. But actually, that sense of I, that beingness of that projection is borrowed from yourself. And that being in itself has, in a way, you can say, no, free. Because actually it's a phantom. It doesn't really exist, except that we are creating it all the time. But you have all the freedom in the world to act like this or act like that. The more you are rooted in that, still you will be, as long as you manifest in that manifestation in time and space, you will adjust to a cosmic harmony, to a divine will. But still within that, you can bring your own creativity in your own totally unique flavor into it. Now, am I the doer when I'm doing things from moment to moment? It's a concept that I am the doer. But I'm not the doer. It's also a concept. Both are concepts.
Yeah.
And it's not that finally you figure out totally, am I now the doer or am I not the doer? But you become aware the whole question doesn't rise anymore, because you step out of a certain level and there the question simply doesn't rise. But many times this teaching is given to people, learn to be not the doer. And it may be helpful if we are so totally immersed. Me, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. That one learns to relax a bit by holding on to that mood. I'm not the doer. And just more learns to have that sense of letting things take their course, of letting things flow in the flow. So it can be a very helpful concept for some time as a help. But it's eventually, it's not that you finally know exactly, am I now the doer or not the doer? Simply the question disappears. It doesn't make sense anymore. It's not that I'm not the doer is the final answer.
It's just, it helps me.
Yeah.
No.
And if you feel it helps you, then...
But I feel it helps me a lot to think I'm not the doer.
Right.
A lot.
Right. And if that helps you, then stay with it. And because if you stay in that bhava, in that mood, I'm not the doer, that helps you, that you become aware that something is not moving in all the movement. And that which moves can be most of the time just let go by its own momentum.
Yeah, that
Right.
I know. If
And
you sometimes if you do nothing, then it just disappears.
yes, yes.
I mean, things can. Problem is no longer there.
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah.
So if it's helpful for you to stay with that mood, I'm not the doer, then by all means stay with it. It helps. I've done that a lot for a long time myself. Coming from the Advaitic teaching, so then
But
okay,
also,
all is a dream. It's not real. I'm not a doer. But then, I mean, when I was honest from moment to moment, most of the time I was sucked into the me. I'm the doer, and for that it
that's
was
with me
helpful
too. Yeah.
to remind oneself, okay, I'm not the doer. That helps to take a step out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It
perfectly
does.
valid as a help. You don't have to think of it as a final truth, but as a help to detach from the attachment of me doing things.
Yeah. And also I find that I see it a lot in other people, you know, because it's a lot in my mind, in my consciousness, then I also see it a lot. The problem with the doership, you know, I'm the doer and I have to do this and this is hard and why is it not working, you know?
Right.
There's a lot of fixation on that. So it's a good thing to disconnect from that, I think, for your own growth. For me, it is anyway. I don't know for others, but for me, it is. It's really good to disconnect from this.
To live more
concept.
To live more and more in a mood, just let the things take their course. Huh? Could you hear me? The connection is not so fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, that was really good.
Good,
about this.
great,
it has been on my mind. Yeah.
Good.
So thank you, Werner.
You're welcome. Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hello, Werner.
Hello. Hello. I have to again to look Shreya.
Yeah.
Right.
Today, when I was out, I met a monk, and he was a Tibetan monk. He is a refugee. He got saved from a Chinese jail where he was treated very badly and tortured. And it just sort of came out in the conversation because I asked him what he was doing here, and he was going to a protest. And I find these things very disturbing, to realize these things that happen in the world and how negative and destructive forces there are in the world that are acting, that cause these sorts of things to happen.
Yeah.
And I find I just find it disturbing. And while I know sort of, I think it's kind of probably maybe more in an intellectual sense, I can say, well, I think there's a bigger plan in the world that I don't understand all the forces and everything that's happened in the universe, but I'm not kind of entirely convinced.
Yeah, right.
And still, you know, certain things just seem very dark, and they're just disturbing to me, and I'm not really quite being able to accept it, I suppose, and just move on. Sometimes when I hear news, I find it disturbing, and I can feel sad. Like sometimes I'll even cry when I hear that people are in pain or suffering, but I move on from that. You know, it's only temporary, and I experience something, I let it, and then I move on from that.
Yeah.
But sometimes it seems to go deeper, and it's like I'm not letting it go.
Right. Have you been here when I started the satsang, when I started to talk
Yeah.
today, because in a way I talked about that. What you are
did about
right.
it being an illusion.
Right, and I mean when I today started the satsang before anybody asked questions, I was a bit talking about it, but we can come back. We can go into it a bit more. Of course, if you look what's going on, or what you hear from history, what has been going on, if you see to what kind of cruelty and destructiveness people are capable, then it can of course be quite disturbing for the mind. It is possible because there is the total disharmony, because negative and positive has to be there in order to have a creation. If the polarity is not there, then the unity is there, but it's not manifest. In order to manifest, immediately there has to be a polarity. But as long as that negative and positive is in harmony, in balance, then also the manifestation is harmonious and beautiful. But this world has been for a long time totally unbalanced, in a disharmony. And then many consciousness really go very far away from that awareness of their own divinity. And the more a consciousness gets bottled up in that little bubble, me, the more it is possible to react in extremely destructive ways. Now, this world is on purpose built in such a way that this is possible. That consciousness who wants to learn on this level and is being confronted with all the positive and negative possible, learns from it, gets stronger from it. Actually, it's a perfect learning place, this world, because that total possibility always of negativity and positivity, of harmony and disharmony. And what you are doing is the right thing to do. What you say, some things come, and then sometimes you may cry, and there's nothing wrong. When you see something bad, if you cry about it, but then that's a moment, the moment the experience passes, you let it go. But then otherwise, sometimes you say, things don't go. They stick around and they keep on nagging. How is it possible to that level that meanness and destructivity can manifest? Well, I don't know to say how it is possible, but it is possible in this world. And right now, actually, a lot of it is manifesting. But at the same time, the opposite is also extremely strong. Right now, it's an intensive period that both forces, the negative and the positive, they are very strongly at work. And the negative is like trying to hold on with fingernails. But that tremendous disharmony has to disappear. If you can take my word for it, it may be easier to let go of the old things that it is so terrible, it is so terrible. But I cannot prove it, time will prove it by itself.
Yes,
But
I think
can, one more word, I can tell you, we are not going through this in vain. We are not confronting the possibility of this cruelty and of this negativity in vain. Before we came into this world, we were conscious of what is possible, and in spite of that came because we wanted to learn the lesson, something very strong, something very precious. We are getting out of it, being confronted with this possibility. So it's not for nothing. And even people who are totally unjustly treated or tortured, they are not going through that in vain. Something very precious they are accumulating. At the same time, the terrible situation comes, is there for some time and goes, but what they are gaining by it will stay with them. They may not be aware of it right now and be full of mental traumas looking back to what has happened, but that which counts is with them, and sometimes somewhere that being that has gone through that looks back and says to itself, actually great I went through all that. Because it gave me a wealth that stays with me. Anyhow, you wanted to say something. I talked into it. If you want to say something more, please do so.
No, I was just saying that that was very helpful, just to remind me about, I probably won't be able to repeat it back again the way you said it, but it was very helpful how you reminded how, well, the polarities will play themselves out.
Right.
Yeah, I think that concept, you know, that idea is very helpful, that it seems like there are some very destructive forces around, and there are, but everything will play itself out in the end. That's probably one way that I would put it. And it's all, everything will progress in some way eventually. Yeah, so that's very helpful to me. And then in terms of this feeling of being disturbed by it, like what you said is helpful. And I'm still I still kind of feel, I don't know, there's like this tension in the chest. I suppose I just need to feel into it and relax.
Right, exactly. The feeling of being disturbed, and it's also, we have talked about it before with Helen, resisting to accept the situation, that it can be like this at all. That the mindset, but no, it cannot, it should not, it has no right to exist at all. And to accept, yes, it's possible.
Yeah.
That acceptance is going against our grain of what we want to be and don't want to be. And so when you see that feeling, no, then right, come back to the feeling itself. Detach from the situation that brought the feeling about and look at the feeling itself. And you already said I have that tension in the chest. Look what it is doing to you physically. And let that go. And when the mind comes, but I need not accept, but then accepting is not justifying. Accepting doesn't mean it's nice that it is like this. It's good that it is like that. It has nothing to do with that. Simply accepting that it is possible. Not accepting a fact is simply misery that doesn't help anyone. It's a burden that we are carrying along and has no use.
Yeah, I think there's some judgment there, that I feel that this is bad. You know, this is bad. It shouldn't be. It's bad. And that's what's causing me pain. Yeah.
It's not that you have to do mental acrobatic and try to say, no, it's good. I mean, on the relative level, certain things are simply bad. And there is no point in saying, no, it's nice, it's wonderful, it's all right. No, certain things are really bad. But we can accept that this exists, that certain bad things do exist. If that resistance is not there, it's much easier to deal with it. And even in bad situations, turn it into something creative.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Hari Om. Hari Om. expect that, but the wind is building up, so maybe after some time we may have a little downpour, but maybe not. Sometimes the wind is just blowing it over us. If there is anybody who right now wants to come in, you're welcome to do so. If that is not the case, then we just stop the official part of the satsang for today. Somebody seems to come. No? Okay. Let's leave it at that for today. Hari Om.